On this episode of Andy's Autosport TV, we're going to show you how to magically start your car. Most modern cars have a key fob to unlock your doors. A remote start allows you to do the exact same thing, except you can start your car, not just unlock your doors. Now, remote starters are generally universal, so when you look in the Fits On section, if it says universal, it'll fit your vehicle. Now, with a remote start installed on your car, in the summer months, if it's really hot outside, you can have that car cooled off, or in the winter months, you can have your heater on and have it warmed up before you ever walk out the door. Now, some remote start systems give you the ultimate in security, protection, and convenience. Not only will they start your car, but they will roll the windows up and down, they can lock the doors, pop the trunk. You can even follow your car if it's been stolen and find it while it's en route. And with smartphone apps, you can do this from thousands of miles away. Our Autostart AS2775 comes with basic features that we're going to install on our Project 4Runner. It will allow us to unlock the doors, remote start the vehicle, of course. It also has an engine disable mode so that if you're valeting your car or if you're parking your car, you can actually disable the starter so that nobody can steal it. Comes with everything that you need for the installation, all the wiring, key fobs, everything that you need for a clean, compact installation. Okay, now to install your remote system, you're going to need to buy a couple of products and tools if you don't already have them. Now, one of the things you're going to need is some crimp connectors. Now, we recommend the NSPA connectors. They are absolutely fabulous. What they do is they actually, once you crimp them, you actually hit them with a heat gun or a torch, and what it does is it closes that connection up to keep that a weather-tight connection. You're also going to need some stripper crimpers. Now, you can buy all these right here at Andy's. Another thing you're going to need is a little bit of patience. Now, it can be very intimidating when you think about all these wires and the fact that you're going to be splicing into the ignition harness of your vehicle. It's really not that bad. Once you register your system, and you need to do that as soon as you get your Autostart system, register it with your particular vehicle, it's going to allow you to choose the year, make, and model. Once you do that, it's going to give you a wiring diagram telling you what colors of wire to cut under the dash and where to splice them in. It also gives you a component location of where that wire is and the polarity. Now, in some cases, they even have pictures to make it super easy for you. Autostart does a great job of making installation easy. Now here we are under the steering column of our 4Runner. We want to show you a very complete installation on our Project 4Runner to eliminate the fear of cutting into the ignition wires. Now keep in mind our install will have its differences on the color of wires that we fuse together. The Autostart wiring guide is very specific for your vehicle and absolutely necessary. Now the install process is basically repeated steps. You're going to cut a wire, trim back the insulation, twist the original wire to the corresponding new wire together, add your crimp connector of the appropriate size, crimp the wires, and then heat shrink them for a tight seal. When you install an Autostart system, what you're basically doing is bypassing the need for the key to start the vehicle. Now, you'll still need the key in the ignition and turn to the on position in order to drive because the steering will be locked otherwise. The Autostart system also has some safety features built in. For example, if you have a manual transmission car, it does bypass the neutral safety switch, but it will not start if the handbrake is not engaged. Now, in an automatic vehicle, you also can have the emergency brake on, and that will allow the car to start as well. Now, these wires also function as ways to program and get into programming mode as well. So make sure you follow the directions and install them completely. Okay, now just because we've installed an Autostart system doesn't mean the key won't work. If you put the key in the ignition and turn it to the on position and start position, it's going to function just like it did before you installed the Autostart. Now, the ground wire. When it comes to ground wires, they are very important. Now, we already had a ground wire installed on our Project 4Runner, so we just tied into that. Any place you can get a good ground under the steering column is fine. There's usually a piece of metal across the back, or you can ground to the side on the frame rail. Okay, now we're going to hook up our hood switch. Now what this does, this serves as a couple of purposes. One is it will allow you to get into the diagnostic mode or programming mode of our Autostart. Another thing it'll do is when you have the hood up, it will not allow the car to automatically start with the remote start. That way, if you're servicing the vehicle in any way, shape, or form, and your hand is under there, if you accidentally hit the start button, it's not going to accidentally start while you're under the hood of the car. Very important. Now, there's a couple of spots you can do this with. You can put this on a hole that's already existing if you have one on here. What you want to make sure, though, is that the plunger actually touches a spot on the hood. Now, we've got a couple of holes here under the hood that are already there, and I could have easily used one of those. However, the one that's on the far right-hand side over here on the fender, it wouldn't hit the hood and the plunger wouldn't make correct contact. It might push it to one side or another and then break it. Another one is right here in the front of the core support. The problem is that there is a wiring harness that goes back behind there. So what we're going to do is we're going to drill out this hole right here, and that's going to allow us to hit the hood properly without bending it or possibly breaking it, and allowing this to function properly. Now, the hood switch on these are basically very simple. It's just a ground switch. So all you need to do is hook up the spade terminal to the bottom of the switch. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and connect our tack signal wire. Now, depending on your vehicle, this can be put in many different places. Now, in our particular case, it's going to go into the diagnostic port. But if you have an old style car or a car that just has a single coil, you're going to hook this up to the negative terminal of the coil. But in our case, we're going to the diagnostic port. Now, when we tie into this wire in the diagnostic port, you need to make sure, we're going to have to cut some tape off of it. We want to make sure you don't get into the wiring and cut any of the shielding off the wiring. Now, since we had to cut the tape off our diagnostic terminal to get to the tack wire, once you're finished connecting the tack wire, be sure you use electrical tape to seal that connection. Okay, now that we've got all of our main connections made, we're going to go ahead and hook up our control module. Now, it's very easy to connect. They just connect one way. And we're not going to hook up any of the power locks or power windows on this particular application. We really don't care about that. We have a key fob. What we want to do is we want to make sure that we can warm this vehicle up in the wintertime or cool it down in the summer. So let's go ahead and make these connections. Okay, now the last one that we're going to hook up is this right here is our remote module. It goes in very simply like this, and we have plenty of wire here. We can actually put that anywhere we want. So we're not going to unwrap this right now. We're going to find a place for our control module under our dash, and then we're actually going to double stick tape this to the under part of our dash once we get this installed. Installation of our Autostart system took about an hour, hour and a half with ordinary hand tools that you can buy right here at andysautosport.com. To start the vehicle, just simply push the lightning bolt. To shut it off, you just push the red button and it'll shut it right down. Now, this is going to be real convenient for those really, really hot summer months or cold winter months when you want your vehicle to be warmed up or cooled off for you when you get there. If you have any questions about this or any other modifications, feel free to call one of our knowledgeable sales staff at 1-800-419-1152 or email us at info@andysautosport.com. We hope you've learned something today, and we'll see you on another episode of Andy's Autosport TV. Gosh, I love this.